Hi everyone, welcome to today's live video. I'll be talking about how to actually get some work when you have your kids with you at home, right? So how many of you are trying to get some work done but having a hard time because you have kids there? Please write down in the comment below if this is you and what have you been doing so far that works for you, right? Because other people might find it useful for them as well. So again, for those of you who don't know, I am Denise. I'm a parent of two and I'm also a parenting coach. I live in Madrid and we are currently in the middle of the school closure. So I plan on going live every day just to share our experience and give some tips for other people who are also going through this. So today we actually went out of the house. We did not go to the playground because it's not really recommended, but we did go out of the house just to go for a walk and get some fresh air. I don't know how long we'll be able to do that, so we're doing it while we can. So let's get on to the topic for today, which is how to actually get some work done when you have kids around. So I'm just gonna say maybe something that's really obvious, but just in case it hasn't occurred to you. One way that you can do this is if your partner is also at home, or if you have a partner, is to take turns, right? You can do it in shifts, whichever works for you. Maybe you can do one works in the morning, the other one works in the afternoon, one works on one day, and then the other one works on the other day. Decide in advance what you're gonna do and then set the boundary and follow through. I know how hard it can be if you're at home and you're trying to get some work done and you hear your child with your partner and maybe your child's crying for you and he wants to be with you. I know it can be really hard to stay focused on your work when you hear that. When this happens, just remind yourself that it's normal for your child to want to be with you, but it is also okay for you to not pick him up every time he asks, and for you to focus on what you're doing because you know that he is with someone who is fully capable of taking care of him. Okay? If this really is something that bothers you, then maybe you should block the sound out and play some music or some white noise, anything that allows you to focus on your work. Another tip is to take advantage of your children's sleep time, right? If they normally wake up at around 7:30 or 8, maybe it's worth it for you to wake up at 6:30 or at 6 or at 7, knowing that at least you will have that moment of peace where you can really focus. And the same goes for nighttime. I know it's hard to work at night for most of us because we've had a really long day, we're with kids. When the nighttime comes, when they're finally in bed, we don't really feel like working. But that's just something that you get to decide, right? It's something, whether or not you feel like doing it is something that you can control. So don't use being tired as an excuse to not work. I know it sounds a bit harsh, but I actually do a lot of my work at night when my kids are sleeping, and basically it's just, I want to do it and this is the time I have to do it, so I'm gonna do it. It's just a bit of think of what your future self would want for you in the future and make that as a gift for yourself. So that's take advantage of children's sleep time. And another thing is to maintain a routine. I mentioned this in one of the videos as well. This is good for you and for your kids, especially since, for the next 2 weeks, this is the new routine. So it's good to start one, it's good to have it, it's good to keep it. A friend showed me this morning, which I really liked, was that they drew a circle as if it was a clock and they put the hours, the time. And then within each time they put what their daughter's routine is, right? What they plan on doing. So it would be have breakfast, get dressed, play, go for a walk, have lunch, watch TV, play some more, have a bath, have dinner, and then go to bed. So having that routine, having it set and having it being something visual can really help your kids as well, because they can ask you like, oh, what time is it? And you're like, oh, look, it's time to play quietly in your room. And then ideally they'll at least give you some of that time. And when you do set your routine, I really suggest that the first thing you do in the morning is to have that time of connection with your child, right? Even if it means that you have to set a timer, and even if it's only like 10-15 minutes, to really have that time with your child where you're fully present, just being with them and doing whatever it is that your child wants to do. Because once you give your child that attention, when it is time for you to work, they'll be less likely to keep bothering you for more attention, right? So when you do your routine, make sure that you have within your routine time that you're spending connecting with your child. Okay, another suggestion is that while you are working, make sure that your child only has access to toys that you're okay with, right? It's not really the time for them. Make sure that they can't reach any paint or markers or things that would just really stress you out. So that in the sense that even if you're working and you hear loud noises, as long as no one's like crying or asking for you as if they sound like they're hurt, then you're able to be like, okay, it's just all the Legos, what fell were all the Legos on the floor. We'll deal with that later, right? So it's nothing dangerous, nothing that they have to be really supervised. You don't have to worry about what they're doing. Another suggestion that I have is TV time. I don't know what your stance is with TV. Everyone has their own opinion. We personally do have TV time in the weekends, and since there's no school, we will probably also have TV time as part of our routine. And take advantage of if you are someone who allows your child to watch TV, take advantage of putting the TV on, and while they are using the TV, really make sure that you're using the time for something you want to do, right? That's another suggestion that I have, is to know your priorities. While your kid's watching TV, make sure you're not there just like sitting down and looking at Facebook if you also want to be working. Or while your kid's watching TV, especially if it's after lunch, maybe that's not the time for you to keep to clear the table, right? And start washing the dishes, because maybe that's something that you could actually do with your child. And during that time, then maybe you should be working instead. So if you if you don't allow TV in your house, other resources you can use instead of TV are audiobooks and podcasts. And I also really recommend the website, and it's also a Facebook page. It's called Screen Free Parenting. So you can find lots of ideas, and they have so many ideas, and it's also grouped by age. So it gives you lots of options of things that you can do for the next 2 weeks. So those are my suggestions within maintaining your routine. I mentioned the other one, which is to know your priorities, right? Know that, that's something for you to decide, like what comes first for you. Is it housework? Is it parenting work? Is it work? And that can also change depending on the time, depending on the day. But just be aware of it so that you don't catch yourself spending your time on things that later you realize you would have preferred to use it elsewhere. Okay, because it's quite, especially if we're working from home, even without kids, it is really easy to get distracted by all the other things in the house that needs to be done. So it really helps also to just write it down, right? Or if you find yourself being distracted while you're trying to work and you're like, oh, I have to wash the dishes, you can just like kind of tell your mind, like instead of ignoring it, just be like, yeah, we do have to wash the dishes. We'll wash it at this time, right? So that way your mind can kind of like calm down knowing that the dishes will be washed. You don't have to wash them in the moment, but it will happen, and that will allow you to really focus on your work. And another thing Another tip for these days is something that I have been talking about. I always mention in my Facebook page, and it is, I think, really quite important. It goes with knowing your priorities. It's also choosing your battles, right? Knowing if what's going on is really worth your energy and your time in fighting, especially in the moment, right? One example would be if you're working and then you hear the box of Lego falling to the floor. Maybe that's like something that stresses you out because it's really messy or whatnot. Decide for yourself if this is really something worth stopping what you're doing and fighting over. That's something that you just have to know, right? It's kind of like, yeah, like just knowing your priorities and knowing if the battle that you're about to fight is in line with your priorities. Okay, so just to do a quick recap, some of the suggestions I gave so that you can actually work from home when you're with your kids are to take turns with your partner and to really set and follow that boundary, to take advantage of your children's sleep time, to maintain a routine and to have that routine visually so the child can use it as a reference through a clock or just through drawings, depends on your child and their age and what they like. Only allow your children access to toys that you're okay with. Do not feel guilty for using TV time if it's something that you need. And remember that there are also other options like podcasts, audiobooks, and again, there's the page Screen-Free Parenting. And then connect with your child before working so that way their cup is full and they won't be asking for your attention as much. Know your priorities and choose your battles. Okay? Now, I forgot to say it at the beginning of the podcast, but if you made it all this way, I actually have a gift for you and for all the people who have reached out of the podcast. I've decided to offer a free 30-minute call to the first 3 people who send me a message to help you specifically with your routine, right? So if you're going through this and it's already been 2 days since the schools have closed, you don't really have a routine, you don't know how you want it to look like, right? You need a bit of clarity. I can help you in those 30 minutes. Or if you know what routine you want, but you don't know how to make it happen, that is also something that I can help you with. Okay, so it's a free 30 minutes. We'll talk about you all and your routine, get some clarity, give you some specific actions you can take. All you have to do is send me a message. And yeah, that's it for today. Tomorrow I actually have something really special planned. I'm gonna go live around this time, well, about 6:30 tomorrow, with a personal trainer who is gonna share with us an exercise routine we can do at home with kids. Okay, because even though we are stuck at home, that doesn't mean that we have to stop exercising, because it has all these different benefits, including boosting our immune system, right? Which is something we all might want to do these next few weeks. So that's it for today, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye!